questions. Yes. Yes, Senator Hashimoto.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. So I guess, the issue of liability is that figured out in SB 1002?
It addresses that Shpd would maintain liability for the decisions or the determinations made by the third-party reviewer. It does have a stipulation within the bill.
In there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the question really is what is the plan? So it's good to hear that you're open to third-party review. It's just a matter of, I think, is the thought process when you do the third party, is someone then reviewing it within Shpd once it comes back, or are we giving them some type of freedom? I think I was reading in your testimony that they have to follow the ethics rules of review, and I hope that's already addressed in SB 1002. But I think if it has to come back and then wait for somebody to review what they reviewed, it just kind of doesn't make sense at a certain point too. But I guess, what is your thinking on how that's going to work?
Well, typically, we have had somewhat similar agreements with like the Department of Transportation where they've paid for third-party reviewers within our office to help transportation projects move along. So they don't, there's like a wall between HDOT and our office with those contract workers. And essentially those workers review the project, they produce a letter with a determination, and we review the letter, and either I have to sign it or the chair of DLNR has to sign the letter that goes out that has the final determination. At that point, we don't re-review the entire project as long as the letter itself meets all the requirements and has the required language and it's a sound determination, then we'll sign it and send it on. So there is a point where we do have to still sign the letter that the third-party reviewer writes at this point based on what we've done before, without having to re-review the entire project from the beginning. So it should speed things along.
And do we feel like we have the appropriate guardrails in place? Because I think when I talked to the city about permit third-party reviews, they were like, they blamed, that's how a lot of these monster homes got through. And I was like, well, you can't catch everything, but I think, as long as we know that we are going to have, policies and procedures in place to make sure, some of the things that you don't want, are, or at least we're going to catch most of the things, right? I think we're not expecting it to be 100%, but.
Yeah, and I think with the case with historic preservation, we don't have the ability to prevent necessarily a project from moving forward, just to ensure that historic preservation is considered and historic resources are avoided if they can be, or the impact is minimized or mitigated if it can't be. And then of course, to take into account any impacts to EV and try to avoid that as well. And so I think it's a little bit different, I guess is what I'm saying, than what the county is looking at. And the professionals looking at this in terms of the SB 1002 bill, and I believe there's language in this version of the bill too, but I don't think it's as specific. It does require that those third-party reviewers do meet the state professional qualifications. And so there is like a professional, a professional control there, that the people doing the review should know what they're doing. And again, we would be kind of reviewing their final determination.
And so I guess the question is, do we think there is people that are willing to do this? Because I think when we were contemplating something for Maui County, they couldn't find anybody, even though we gave them the authority.
Yeah, and I think that was
Talking about the consultants.
Right.
Yeah, that was our concern, that the language in the initial draft of both bills said that Shpd shall, but it didn't have language in there that says, well, what happens if you can't find a third-party reviewer?
Right.
SB 1002, I think you guys resolved that problem. You added language that essentially said if a third-party reviewer is available. So it allows us to, and I'm not sure how much a third-party reviewer consultant would charge for this either.
Sounds expensive.
You also, well, I think it was anticipated that we would charge a fee and that the fee would pay for the review, but we don't get the fee for at least a month. That's how the payment system works. And so we need a little seed money to start up the contract in order to start it so that the fees can feed into it later. Sorry, I'm going off too much detail, I'm sure, but yeah, it's complicated on
So
who
the
would take
concept
it.
is you have to select the third party reviewer, or is
Yes,
it, okay,
I believe so. Yep.
that's in 1002?
That's in
Yes.
both of the
Okay.
bills, yeah.
But with more clarity in 1002.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, any further discussion? Senator Elafante.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Puff, what is your current average time now for review? And secondly, is it separate categories for development projects and private residences, or are they looped into one category?
The review period is contingent upon the complexity of the project and whether or not there's a federal component as well as the state component, and then also based upon the completeness of the submittal that we receive and whether or not they have all the information or not. If it's a simple permit, we have a like a 45-day review period for a determination of whether or not a historic property is there and if it's significant, and a 45-day review period to determine if there's an effect to that historic property. We've been getting the simple permits reviewed within the 30-day timeline, and the ones for Maui for recovery projects, we've been trying to get those out in less than 2 weeks. For the more complicated projects, and those including Section 106 consultation, depending upon when they come to us, because they may come to us well in advance of them actually submitting their full project. The Section 106 process, which is the Federal Historic Preservation Review process, limits us to a 30-day review period. And so a lot of projects we can review within that time frame if we have all the information, but if they're missing parts, it can take longer. It can take months, and in some cases a year, or in some cases where it's a phased project, like the rail project, it'll continue through the duration of the project.
And or incomplete form applications.
Absolutely.
By the developer or.
Absolutely, yep. Or if there's like a change in scope mid-project, that can also throw off the review period too, because then you technically open up consultation again.
Thank you.
Any further discussions on HB 830? Hearing none, we'll continue. Thank you so much, Jessica, appreciate it. OHA, Office of Foreign Affairs. Mahalo for being with us today.
No, it's all right. Well, Chair Noe, Chair Chang, members of the committee. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs stands on our written testimony providing comments, much in line with SHPD's comments. We don't think this bill will effectuate as written, will effectuate the change that's desired. It'll require additional resources from SHPD to manage the contracts and find the right third-party consultants. Plus, there's also problems with finding third-party consultants because there's not a wide pool of them in archaeology. And it's not like SHPD doesn't have the ability to do it already. And so we are more comfortable with the language that's in the SB version as well as HB830. In our testimony for HB1002, we asked to conform that bill because we thought there were better guide rails and it was more practical in that sense. But available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, Hawaii Realtors, Lindsay Garcia or representative. Okay, send communication in support. AAC Consultants at Chris and Librado Cobian. Okay. Aloha. Good seeing you again. Thank you.
My name is Lee Cobian. I'm an environmental contractor and consultant. I submitted testimony. I just had two questions, and I'm glad Jessica's here. I wanted to find out, I just did a review, got it like 2 weeks ago, and for a 23-acre project and
Where?
in Kailaloa to do a land clearing. And it only costed $25. And you guys were on time within the 90 days. And it was pretty seamless, especially through their Chris website. My question is, would there be a provision, would an applicant be able to waive the 90 days and come to a mutual agreement on an extension so we can possibly avoid the third-party costs? Because if you look at it, this is a 23-acre land project that I just submitted for review, and it was only $25. So, I mean, as an applicant, I'm willing to say, hey, Shpd, you guys need extra time, no problem.
But I think the Shpd has been good about extensions. Come on up. Yes.
Yeah, they have a clause,
Yeah,
a mutual
and we-
agreed upon date.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary that we're going to demand, because I think they're already doing it.
Yeah.
response.
Well, I think
Jessica.
SB 1002 also had language in it that, to your point, it would allow the applicant upon application for a historic preservation review to identify whether or not they wanted the third-party reviewer option, like checking off a checkbox
Yeah.
or something like that. So that we knew right away, because the language says that within, I think it's 60 days, we're to determine, or no, we have to determine, yes, within 60 days, whether or not we can review the project within 60 days, and then immediately contract with a third-party reviewer. And if they don't check the box saying they want that, they want that
So the
option, they
option
wouldn't be
is here.
charged the fee, yeah.
So that option would be in the HICRIS system?
Like, yeah, we'd have
Okay.
to add like a checkbox to the application, hi, Chris.
And is there any way that you can upfront kind of disclose what those third-party costs might be?
Yes, we'd have to update our fee schedule.
Okay.
That's posted on our website. and
Those
in
are basically my
HiCRIS.
questions.
Okay, thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's move on. HDA, Randy Pereira, or? Okay, thank you. Naya? Evan, thank you for your patience as
Good
well.
afternoon, Senator. Good afternoon, chairs.